India's market news headquarters. Cutting-edge analysis. Influential insights. Market-moving intelligence. Broadcasting live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. It's a Wednesday morning, and the weather's turned a little bit, right? I mean, I think last 24 hours it's turned a little hot, maybe a little muggy. Yeah. And someone told me in the suburbs this morning it's rained a little bit.
It is. There's a slight drizzle out there. I'll tell you what, it reminds you of the Delhi of yesteryears, minus the cold.
Yeah, I was wondering, it was looking quite tricky when I was riding to work. So I guess it's the rain. I was wondering whether or not there was a spill or something, but it was too long, a few kilometers, so then maybe
it's a bit weird weather. This morning, right?
Yeah. But whatever little drizzle, I'm very happy it'll clear up the city's air, so I'm not complaining.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll talk more weather, and let's talk about weather about the markets as well, because we had a very good session yesterday. Actually, all the way from the lows of last week, the markets continued to rally and rally nicely. So picking up from where we left off yesterday, last night, I mean, US last night gave you a sort of glimpse of what holiday sessions, sort of end of the year kind of sessions could look like. Nothing on the S&P. NASDAQ, slightly higher. Russell 2000 was a more pronounced 0.8% cut. So in terms of news flow, there wasn't very much. There was, job openings, etc., but nothing at the margin which really moved or mattered for price action. Post the stock market close, you had Salesforce, which reported a softer sort of revenue guidance outlook for Q4. And I think the stock is under pressure in terms of after hours. Macro markets, 10-year yield went up 4 basis points, 4.23%. And the dollar index was absolutely flat, slightly lower even, 106.34 on the dollar. I mean, actually, through the course of Asia yesterday as well, the dollar was slightly softer, and that trend continued overnight as well. These are just slight reversals. The bond markets rallied 25 basis points sort of on last week, Friday to Friday. So that was big, and they're pulling back a little bit. And dollar went up sharply, and it's just sort of halting for a day or 2 days. Oil prices, meaningful move, 2% or so, 2.5 actually, 73.65, almost just under $74 per barrel is where oil left off at. Now, yesterday, and this happened during sort of India trading, while we were still trading, tit-for-tat measures between US and China with regards to semiconductor restrictions. So, the US, and this is the third time the US has announced measures in 3 years, third time in 3 years, restricting supply of components, etc., to 140 Chinese companies in the semiconductor value chain. And a few hours later, China announced that it's going to sort of restrict the export of materials which are critical in chip making, a bunch of them, to the US. So, this is all, of course, happening with 40 days to go for Mr. Trump to take over and be in the White House. So, how much of this is going to last, or this is going to tighten, it's going to ease? I think those are questions. You had one other unexpected, absolutely out of the syllabus kind of announcement. South Korea's president unexpectedly declared an emergency martial law, but he also then sort of a few hours later announced that he's lifting it. And I'm not sure if this already happened, but that's essentially was what came through. Just absolutely crazy, and no one really saw it. This is not, just to be sure, this is not North, this is South Korea. The French government faces a no-confidence debate and perhaps a vote that perhaps may happen today. So we'll see today, or maybe early hours tomorrow. So we'll see how that one goes. But that's been the reason why the euro has been under a fair bit of pressure. Just to tie in the levels, Nifty yesterday decisively closed above the 40-day exponential moving average, broke the previous high of 24,355. Now, that is a level which the market had failed to cross for 4-5 days, 24,351, 355. But it's taken that out yesterday. Immediate resistance now is the 50% retracement of the entire fall from the highs of September to the lows recently. And that comes in at 24,770, a level which we put out over the last couple of days as well. But, the market was finding it hard to go up, and now it has. Support comes in at 24,196, 24,200 roundabout is where supports come in. Nifty Bank went up nearly 1.25%. It closed above or around the 61.8% retracement of 52,680. The close was 52,695. So about 15-point overshoot there. So first, of course, is defending this. The next resistance is, again, retracements of the entire fall, like for the Nifty, 52,876 and 53,465 are those levels. And supports for the Nifty Bank comes in at about 51,760, which is around where the low has been for the last 3 odd trading sessions. GIFT Nifty will come up on your screen, give you a quick sense of how we like it to start. Remember, the markets bounced quite nicely, quite sharply in 2 or 3 days. So maybe at the margin, some overbought readings, etc., are starting to appear. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, it looks quite okay. A flat kind of start is what we're working with. Surabhi.
Okay, well, absolutely. Let's see, because Asia is still reeling under the impact of what's been going on in South Korea. More on that in just a bit. But on Salesforce, by the way, Prashant, so later, I think the stock started lower. I just checked after hours. I mean, the recent, it's up 10%. It's actually surging. And that's because the revenue has been better than estimated. And more importantly, the market's looking at the AI potential once again. They have something called Agentforce, which is their AI platform. And I think the commentary is that they'll start getting revenue. The AI revenue will kick in perhaps in the next couple of months. The market's really excited. And now Salesforce is up. And let's see if that takes the rest of US tech higher later tonight or not. But anyway, Asia is the really interesting one, because even I double-checked whether this is North Korea that we're talking about or it's the South Korea. Indeed, it is the South, with the martial law being imposed and then it being revoked. But what that has done is it's led to a lot of volatility in Asian markets. And actually, the whole region is under a bit of pressure today. The South Korean market itself fell by about 2%, then it recovered. The won versus the dollar was down as much as 3%, and then it recovered. And lots of reports have surfaced. Some of them indicate that the regulatory authorities in South Korea could be pumping in as much as $7 billion. That's their war chest to keep financial markets stable. So let's see how this plays out. I mean, there is no martial law. They've gone back, basically. But that becomes the added sense of volatility and uncertainty, at least in our region. And as I said, because of that, most of the Asian markets are trending slightly lower. By the way, it's a full Wednesday in terms of more data out of the US. So while we wait for the jobs report later on Friday, today we'll get the private sector payrolls report, the ADP report, and that's going to be well tracked by the market. There is the services PMI. Remember, we got the manufacturing PMI in the US over on Friday. Services comes out today. And then we also have Mr. Jerome Powell speaking at an event. There's some conference in New York. He's speaking there ahead of the Fed meet. That's going to be well tracked as well. Let's come back here and look at, of course, the cues at home. Great 3 days, taking the Nifty finally past this congestion zone of 24,350, and the bulls will want to build on that. They'll want to see gains, and this move has been powered by very decent FPI flows as well. So let's get the flows picture in. Yesterday, the buying was about 3,600 crores, and Nimesh was telling us, even if you net off a lot of the blocks that happened, this is not a bad number. This is a good 4-digit buy number after a long, long time. So we'll take it with both hands, and the bulls will hope this is the beginning of a trend. In terms of individual areas and stocks in focus, I'll definitely watch out for defense names like Mazgaon, some of the shipbuilders, or even Hindustan Aeronautics, because the Defense Acquisition Council, it has announced procurement of defense equipment worth almost 22,000 crores, and it includes things like water jet, fast attack crafts, electronic warfare suites, next generation radars, advanced light helicopters. So basically, watch out for the entire suite of defense stocks today. And finally, one more stock that I'll leave you with, Honasa. Remember, we've all been tracking this big fall in Honasa. Well, one of the promoters went ahead and bought some shares from the market yesterday. We'll get you the details on this in a bit. But maybe that will, get a bit of excitement going, that at least the management, the promoters, that is, are committed to the business. But yes, it's been good going for the bulls, Nigel, past couple of days.
Well, that's right. And in terms of overnight cues, the Fed action is something that we'll be looking forward to in the coming week as well, in terms of whether or not they go ahead and they cut by 25 basis points. The street is factoring that in. Besides that, the two big cues we're looking at, one is the RBI meet that's scheduled later this week, and a CRR cut is the outside chance. So it seems the street is betting on that factor. And the other one is the way the FIs are positioned. From, just being part of it, can they get into the driver's seat? That could lead to a melt-up towards the end of the year. So the FI action is something that we'll be looking at very, very importantly. Because in yesterday's trade, as you said, in the cash market, they turned buyers. And if we're looking at it in the F&O market, well, there was some short covering that played out. 20,000 contracts were covered out on the short side, and there were some long positions that were added. And post this swing of around 27,000 contracts, now the FI net short positions have come down to sub 1 lakh contracts. And that's the first time that it's sub 1 lakh contracts all the way since October 29th. The clients, they remain net long, but from higher levels, they booked some positions as well. So still, the net long positions on the client side is at around 1.6 lakh contracts. Moving to the levels then, in yesterday's trading session, that 24,350 mark, which was a bit of a hurdle for all of last week, that got taken out. So what are the levels you're looking at now? Now all eyes are on numbers closer to around 24,650 because that's where the 50 as well as the 100 DMA comes in at. And you have to say the first reference point now on the downside is deep at around 24,000 odd. So that will be the first support level that you're looking at. The Nifty Bank, that seems to have got his mojo back. And from the banking space itself, the stock that I'm looking at is Axis Bank. If you look at it in the last few months, it's actually been a relative underperformer, even in comparison to what the Nifty has done. It appears there was some delivery-based selling that was there, and that seems to have got cleared out. Even in yesterday's trading session, if you're looking at a couple of levels, well, it conquered some crucial technical levels, and it ended rather strong at around 1,160 odd. So that's going to be important. All eyes now are on the 50 as well as the 100 DMA. So from the banking pack, I'll be interested to see whether or not Axis Bank can outperform from here on. That's point number one. The second factor is the F&O stocks. Stocks that are going into the F&O ban. Granules got hit yesterday. And, now it's moved into the F&O ban. So there's not fresh shorting cannot take place in this particular counter. If it has to go down, it'll have to go down on cash selling. So let's see how the stock behaves because that's moved into the F&O ban. And Manappuram Finance as well has recovered well from the recent low. So keep an eye out on both these two, Axis Bank and Granules as well as Manappuram Finance.
Okay, all right. So lots of those stocks on our radar. Nigel, thanks for that. Let's kickstart the show then with the equity call of the morning. Chetan Sheth of Nomura says investors should enter 2025 on a cautious footing amid looming headwinds, but need not be overly pessimistic as a turn in sentiment may occur sometime during 2025. He remains structurally overweight on India, although he sees some more near-term risks of healthy valuations, derating among a slowing macroeconomic and earnings cycle. But he says structural attraction remains intact and the market will still likely post above average earnings growth, even assuming some earnings misses.
Okay, well, we have another call. We have Amish Shah of BofA Securities who says that for calendar year 2025, he expects Nifty to deliver less than 9% returns. He says Nifty could underperform US equities in US dollar terms, and broader market may see even muted returns given their rich valuations. He says potential fiscal and or monetary stimulus and a lighter events calendar provides scope for policy reforms are some of the upside risks.